Test team are close enough for you, Alan?
It is close enough. Like, you can't. I think the plan here with the invitational game at the weekend was probably give his players 10 days out from the first test, so they play and then they've 9-10 days to recover and be really fresh and focus. Start hitting kind of focusing into that game plan for that first test Saturday week. I think there's a couple of places still up for grabs, but more than likely, this looks like it's, unless somebody has a really bad game and the Brumbies were to beat them. Brumbies have been the best super rugby team out of Australia. They got to semi-finals and of the Super Rugby final semi-final. I think it's intriguing to see there's that centre partnership of Ringrose and Aki. It looks like they're the front runners now, and I think Hugh Jones and Tupelo were good against the Waratahs. It's a tricky one. It looks like they're not going to split up the partnerships, the Scottish partnership or the Irish partnership. So if Bundy Aki and Gary Ringrose don't play well tomorrow, will the two of them be gone and Tupelo and Jones come in? And that could happen. I think you want to try and keep everybody dialed in here, because if the mood within the camp is that this is the first test team, and if you're selected on Saturday, you're not going to be involved the following week, players could switch off a little bit and dial out. And I know individually they'll still want to believe they're still involved and have a chance of making that test team, but it's a strong team, and it's probably the team that's performed the best as regards just that presence and that physicality that they've shown against the opposition.
You talk about that team being the strongest and probably the most cohesive that they've played over the last couple of games.
You could change this up a little bit and still be very strong.
But that game against the Waratahs and the games before, I would say there's been quite a few mistakes. Well, sorry, by the stats.
Lots of
handling
mistakes.
Skills.
Yeah, lots of mistakes.
Do you think the Lions and Andy Farrell would have thought they would have clicked by now and been better in the inverted commas warm-up games than how it's gone?
Well, it's been in fits and starts, hasn't it? The first half of most of the games has been poor. I think against the Waratahs, they just couldn't break them down, and actually the second half they just couldn't kick on. They thought that they would get to that point of dominance again, like they'd shown in a couple of the previous games, particularly against the Force and the Reds. I don't think there's any panic here. I think they'll definitely be holding some stuff back, and you could tweak this a little bit. It's just, the key for Andy here, and he's plenty of experience, he doesn't need me to say it, is keeping the players hungry, that they really believe that this is not a closed door, that this is your test team, and this is going to be because we feel and probably believe at this point that the test team will win the first test. So what will that mean then? It's not going to mean there's a raft of changes for the second test. So there's players here who could look at this and go, well, I might get a look in here to the third test, hopefully when we're going for when we have a series 1 after 2. You just don't know what way people will start thinking. Look, they're all professionals and stuff, but you want the players, and I think that's the key. And Andy's done it well with Ireland over the years, is making players believe that they still have a chance and that they stay hungry. Of course they'll stay fit and mentally kind of tuned in, but I just think it's keeping that morale and that spirit within the group. But look, he's got to do this at some stage anyway, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It has to go there, and that's just the reality of it. This Lions tour is going to be over in a flash. It's a couple of weeks left, and once that first test kicks in that week, you're 2 weeks out from it being all over. So it's time for them to. I think they'll be a little bit frustrated that they haven't got that 80-minute performance yet. And tomorrow's a test. It's another big test against the Brumbies. But I don't think they'll panic. If I was a player involved in that, it's about getting it right for Saturday week in that first test. That's the one that they really want to click and bring a ferocity there. They're all getting this loads of match practice. They're getting the opposition are throwing everything at them, so they're getting tested, and I think that can be a good thing as well. But this is a very powerful side.